All right, you quick. You got a Mark IV. You just turned it on. You put it on the lead channel. What do? You put your gain all the way up. You put your treble all the way up. You put your bass all the way down. You put your mid all the way down. You put your drive all the way up. You get your level on. You put the V. You know, you get your EQ, all that. Make sure your EQ's on. You know, do that. And then there you go. So we're done with the video. But anyway, seriously, with the setup, you read the title correctly. I have my 6505 plus 112 combo, which is it still has the 3 channels, and you can see I can switch between the red, and then it has the 2 green channels, the clean and the crunch. The main difference between this and the big boy, or the normal head, is that it's a 60 watt with 2 6L6s in the power stage, but the preamp stage is essentially exactly the same. This was also modded by some company that was modding the 112 combos specifically. I can't remember the name, but they basically made the red channel, that last gain stage, just maxed out. So like anything after 5 is just max gain. And I mean, yeah, there is some adjustment between 3 and 5, but it's whatever. It's like a high saturation whatever mod, which it does the thing. It works. You just don't really get much adjustment. So that's why the setting looks low for the game, but like pretty much right here is where it needs to be. Other than that, it gets kind of stuffy. And then we got my 91 Mark IV Rev A. I know this head layout because there's like the littler head, and then there's like the wide head, which I have here, which has these settings up front. I have everything in full power, so like simulclass, it's using all 4 tubes, it's using pentode instead of triode, it's and then your harmonic switch and mid gain switches up front. You know it's a Rev A because I have the dual effects loops that are switchable with the footboard, and I don't have the 3-way satellite effects loop thing. I don't know, there's some accessory that went with that for the Rev B. But we're gonna go through some of the settings you can get out of this, and I'm primarily gonna focus through the comparison between the Peavey and the Mark IV. But here's where the magic is. Down here, I have this channel switching pedal, and the way that both the amps have their effects loop set up is like super convenient for sending the preamp of the 6505 into the Mark IV's power stage. And so another cool thing is that the Mark IV power stage has the graphic EQ after the it's after the effects return. So that means that the Peavey can go through the graphic EQ. It also will be affected by the channel. It'll be affected by the channel EQ. So essentially, I'll have all 3 channels of the Mark IV, and I'll have all 3 channels of the 6505 all able to go through the Mark IV. And it will be unaffected by the power stage of the 6505 because of the way that it, when you use the effects loop, it decouples all of the power stage. There's no negative feedback. The presence and resonance don't do anything, and the little bit of noise is just from the fact that I have my my interface and a whole bunch of I have a lot going on. So my interface is going into the power stage of the 6505, which is basically at full volume all the time, and I get a little bit of background noise and hiss, which it seems that the video doesn't really pick it up. The point is the preamp is only going through here. Finally, I have this Jet City 20 that I modded with a Metropolis lossless effects loop, and then I captured it. So even though it's not on right now, I have my Tonex down here. So then here's where the magic kind of starts with the effects loop and the channel switching, and they're all the options I had. So I want you to keep an eye on the channel switching there on the 6505. The blue means that I'm using the Peavey. So it sounds kind of dull right now because I'm on the R2 channel and it has a different negative master gain staging. We'll get to that later, but the point is this is going to be really dark regardless. If I bypass this, now you're hearing the capture of my JCA. And then finally the non-bypassed red is going to be my Mark IV. And that's the R2 channel. So as you can tell, I didn't really balance that, but let's go to lead. Let's kind of dial back these ridiculous settings I have. So at the moment, we're going to start with the crunch setting, because basically you'll see it's like the same exact amp. The Mesa Boogie has it has one less preamp stage than the Peavey, and so it makes sense that when it's in the crunch mode, when you combine all the active gain stages, it's basically the same circuit as the Mark IV lead channel by itself, when everything's pushed in. So you'll see it'll be dialed in basically exactly to the crunch channel. So let's do that now. So lead gain goes around 6 to 7. Same goes for treble. Treble adds gain on the Mark IV. Mids were around, bass was around 2 to 1, still pretty low. And then actually mid was pretty high. It was like 6 or so. Lead drive was around that 6, maybe 8. Presence will affect both amps, and I'm not using the graphic EQ right now. Actually, you can see if I do this, see that little red light by the master volume? That means the EQ is on and off, right? So right now we're going to go no EQ, and we're going to just compare the green channels, and it's the same thing, as you can hear. Like, look at that. Dude, just a little more treble here. And then just so I know I'm not messing with you, look at that. thing. And then go back to the settings. I was kind of tweaking them a little bit because it's once you get to the low gain on the Mark IV on the lead channel, this EQ right here starts to really start to do stuff. But as you bring in gain and drive, it starts to do less things with the tone. So there's the crunch channel. You can basically get the same exact amp. But then now let's go to the red. And just so again, I'm not messing with you, keep an eye on the 6505, and then it's because I'm on blue, you're hearing the preamp of the 6505. All right, so now let's try to get this this Mark IV up to par with the. Unfortunately, you just can't get the same tone without the noise. You know, I tried with different setups, but with everything I got going on right here, once you start trying to get that super high gain tone, it's going to be a little noisy. The graphic EQ is not really active right now. But the treble really brings in the that high gain. It adds gain as you add treble. The bass and mids at this level don't really do much. But what I will say is, once you get to this kind of gain level, just so I can talk over the noise. The mids, they do this thing where it like adds this fullness. It really doesn't affect the tone, but like if you're in the room and you have your amp cranked, it does this like 3D thing where it fills the room with noise, which can be a good or bad thing because it's like you're bringing the amp forward in a mix. So it's really cool for if you need to like cut through a mix. Without changing the tone that much, because it's like not like a normal mid where you're like, or like the mid on the EQ where it's like you can hear it with just little adjustments. It's like adding a wall of sound and it's bringing it forward and back. It's really cool. And then the bass, and I'll just show this, it just flubs it out. Like if you add any more than like 1 or 2 bass on the high gain setting, it just gets flubby and tubby and you lose tightness, and it's just not a good sound. So yeah, I'll kind of show you both of those effects. So there's with all that bass. Sounds bad, it just farts out. That pretty much at 1 or 2. All right, so with everything pushed in, the Mark IV is very barky when you're at this high gain thing, and the Peavey's way tighter. So here's like your heaviest, nothing in front of the amp setting. We're not boosting it. This is just what you get from normal settings. No push pulls, no fat, nothing like that. Just like what you see is what you get. So here's the difference between the two. No EQ either. 6505. So then the harmonics switch, let's go back to the Mark IV. What I'm going to start doing now is tweaking the Mark IV to get that tightness back. And so the harmonics and the mid switch, the mid gain switch is like Marshally or like a Peavey, like a 6505. Like you're getting that mid focus, like cocked wall. You're able to get that with the mid gain setting. When you're on the mid gain setting, that whole mid thing that I described that this doesn't really do as much. But when you're on harmonic, here I'll just switch between the two. So, gosh, I don't know if you can really hear it through the mix, but it did this 3D thing where if you're in harmonics, it like pulled the wall back to where it didn't really change the tone, but in the room, it feels like I just shrunk the room a little bit when I flipped the switch. Or it kind of put a blanket on it. So then when you're in the harmonic, you can use the EQ goes really good with the harmonic mode. So we're gonna engage that. And you can hear the noise kind of go away a little bit too. Right? Even though this position kind of boosts the amp. So you can hear that when the EQ is brought in, it kind of removes the barkiness because of the scoop. All right, so that's the first trick. The next thing is so there's a couple options to go from here. They're not all compatible. So you pull both the bright and the fat, but you bring the gain back down. So the drive and the gain come back down. You lose the noise. So notice how it's not as noisy anymore, but we still get that aggression. So let me push these back in, max these out, noise is back. So basically the same where you can tweak from there, but no noise. So this is like my first little trick where you just bring those, you pull those both out. And then when you have these both pulled out, you can balance the aggression and the gain and the tightness between your negative feedback and your treble now. So both of my gain and drives are at 7-ish. That's about where once you hit 7, anything above that either is adding noise or it's just shoving through the gain stage. So that's kind of like my first little cheat code setting is that. And then back to the Peavey which sounds even more aggressive, debatably way too much, because now we've added this high end because of the graphic EQ. So the aggressive and high end stuff and some of the gain is being brought to you because of there's less coming from the preamp, but we're accentuating it in the master stage, right? Because this comes after the effects loop. So then that's why the 6505 gets really, I mean, it's just like all highs and mids. So then, if we go back to here, I'm actually going to bring some bass in and kind of level out the EQ here. I mean, just again, so I'm not messing with you. But I will admit, just in the room, the Peavey's just, it's always just a little bit tighter. So what I do have here is my, it's a little bit lower. See the scream pedal? So this is actually a 2-screamer TS9B. It's the bass variant. And it's got this little trick right here with the mix knob and the separated bass and treble. So we're going to try to use this as kind of like a clean boost without the barkiness that you get from a normal tube screamer. So we're on the Mark IV now. Again, I don't know if you can hear it, but in the room, when I put that, when I push it with the tube screamer, it tightens it up. That low end, it's not as dynamic. So that's just like the nature of the Mark IV is that it's very dynamic even at high gain, and okay. So we got the Peavey and the Mark IV kind of matching. Again, that's with the fat and the bright pulled. And then you got to use the EQ to shape it. So now this is my other, like, this is like my hidden, this is like my cheat code. It's like very raspy. So you actually use the shift, the present shift, which comes with a level drop. So you lose the low end. So then to make up for that, I actually pull the fat out. So, but if you have fat, bright, and this all pulled out, it's like Fizz City, sounds horrible, do not do it. So the bright's got to be in. Again, you do pull back the drive in the gain, but in this case you do give it some drive. And so with the presence pulled and the fat pulled, you get this, like, I love it, it's like raspy. You get a little more of a, you have to use an aggressive V because you're losing that bass end from the shift. And then finally, this present shift sounds a little bit, it gets kind of out of hand after 7, so I have the shift like midway with that present. Especially that low end, like this is great for like a D-Genty kind of sound. the shift does affect the Peavey. So let's see what that sounds like. So they sound pretty similar, but you're taking the place of the bright with this shift. So you still get a pretty similar tone from the Mark IV to the Peavey, because they balance out for what they do to the Mark IV and how the Presence reacts with the 6505. So again, you've now made like a raspy Peavey. One thing I did forget was that mid gain. The mid gain does bring you some noise, but if you want a little more rasp and aggression, the mid gain switch gives you that, but at the cost of noise. Awesome. So now, this is more of like a fun little tone I got here. This is the rhythm channel with the fat pulled. So this is R2, but I have a Rat 2 that I usually pair with my Jet City, but you can see it just gets this nasty like grunge kind of. It's just like broken. The EQ's got to come in. That's just something a little fun that I came across. It's like super grungy. The way that the Rat, that the Mark IV responds to the Rat is way different than my Jet City. Let's do the capture of that. What that sounds like. So I'm actually going to use the EQ. So this is the capture of my Jet City with the Rat in front of it. That's no Rat. I usually have a noise gate going on, but just because of the crazy routing, I couldn't really make it work today. Back to the TS9B. I'll kick that in. So we got the bypass, Tonex on, and we got my TS9. And then way over here, I got a compression sustainer, the CS3. And then we can go back to the, turn all this off, go back to the Mark IV. That raspy sound with the pool, but lower gain, still works pretty good. But with the harmonics on, you get less noise. And I still have my my CS3 on. So I will say with these settings, if you're using like crunch setup, you lose out a lot on usable clean setting. But you go back to the Mark IV. I mean, that's what these Mesa Boogie Stir is a fantastic clean amp. This push pull on the, like, I didn't really understand. I mean, they do all the heavy, loud, blah blah blah. So clean was kind of like beyond me, but the bright push pull on the R1 in clean, it's only effective at low input gain, but you also can get the channel loud regardless. It's very chimey. Like you can dial in the clean with the EQ and use it sort of like a boost if you want. Or even like tighten up the clean, like, cause you can scoop out the, I don't know, it's so versatile. But anyway, this push pull thing, listen to that the super high end. See how it kind of, so it's like super chimey. Get lots of reverb. Yeah, that does the thing. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. With the Tonex, you can see I've captured my other amps. I'm going to post a link to my Tonenet in the description. I'm definitely looking forward to capturing the Mark IV. What will be really cool is that the Mark IV has that master stage DI output, it comes right off of the output transformer. There's like the circuitry brings it down the line level, but it's derived from the output stage. So you have to be either hooked up to a load or doing that. And so it's like having an attenuator or ramp box. And so I'm hoping I can get some really good captures out of that, because then I can do all the mixing and matching like I did in the video. And yeah, so look forward to captures of my Mark IV, and make some requests if you want to see some other combinations.